Network and capacity building, PMM, is not primarily about programs. It is about forming leaders who know how to lead within networks, not in isolation. Our signature marks describe the kind of leaders we are forming, and our programs are simply the environment in which that formation happens. Across chaplaincy, community outreach ministries, justice dialogues, the Palmer Converge gathering, the Aligned Action Network, Ministry Mondays with Meg, and Ministry Life, we tell the story of cultivating leaders who understand that relationships are mission, that trust is built intentionally, and that collaboration multiplies impact. What follows is one story told through our 5 signature marks. Leaders who clarify their purpose as part of a network, convene others with respect and trust, communicate for deeper relationships, reciprocity, and accountability, coordinate current program efforts with existing community partners, and collaborate within network or with network partners for expanding mission impact. I'm going to invite Meg up here as we turn our focus towards our first signature mark. At the foundation of network and capacity building is the belief that leaders must understand their work as interdependent, not independent. In our PMM leaders and partners, we are consistently inviting them to locate and refine their calling within a larger ecosystem. I will begin by lifting up a story by Dr. Pat in her absence. Across the country, a diverse, can you hear me in the Dr. Pat voice? The chaplain. The Trevor. I don't know, I can't do it.
The Reverend.
Yeah, I can't do that. We have to tell our own stories in our own voices. So, I'll try my best though. Across the country, a diverse group of chaplains, pastoral counselors, spiritual directors, and specialized ministers gather under the banner of a national network, not as isolated practitioners, but as companions in a shared calling. Each arrives carrying a distinct context: hospitals and hospices, campuses and congregations, military bases, prisons, retreat centers, counseling rooms, and quiet spaces of spiritual accompaniment. Their work looks different on the surface, yet they are united by a common question: how does my ministry fit within the larger mission God is unfolding among us? From the outset, participants are invited to lift their gaze beyond their individual roles and locate their work within a broader ecosystem of mission. In conversations and shared learning, a hospital chaplain begins to see how their presence at a bedside complements the long-term healing work of a pastoral counselor. A spiritual director recognizes how the deep listening they offer sustains leaders who are being poured out in frontline ministry. Specialized ministers discover that their niche callings are not peripheral, but essential threads in a wider tapestry of care. Rather than operating independently, the AB National Network encourages leaders to articulate how their organization, ministry, or personal calling contributes to a shared mission field, one marked by collaboration, mutual support, and a collective witness. Stories are exchanged, connections are forged, and silos quietly dissolve. What emerges is a growing awareness that no single ministry carries the whole burden. Together, they form a living system of spiritual care that is more resilient, more responsive, and more faithful than any one part could be alone. In this AB National Network, participants come to understand that their work is not just their work. It is a part of a larger story, one in which chaplains, counselors, directors, and ministers stand shoulder to shoulder, rooted in their unique callings, yet deeply connected in a shared mission of presence, healing, and hope. Okay.
leaders who clarify their purpose of their organization, of their own organization as part of the network. And I have a story for you. Last year at the biennial, I was sitting downstairs minding my own business when Doug Aviles Bernal from the Evergreen region asked Al Fletcher, if you don't know who Al Fletcher is, he's the region exec from Maine, if he knew me. And Al says, oh yes, we've met, at least over the phone. I call her every time I can't get my Zoom to work. And Doug smiled and said, yeah, but Al, do you really know who Meg is? Do you know she's got a podcast? So Al lights up, because apparently Al loves podcasts. And so for the rest of the biennial, including in the Omaha airport itself, Al kept introducing me to people, going, have you met my friend Meg? And did you know she has a podcast? It was funny, it was a little annoying, but it was also relational. And it didn't stop there. So when we get back, I followed up. I sent him a note, and I shared that I'd love to come to Maine and meet all the pastors there, and share APS, Ministry Life, and the ministries of ABHMS. And I included a Ministry Mondays with Meg t-shirt. He called me the day he got the package. And since then, we check in regularly. So fast forward to Monday, when he calls me and says, hey Meg, we're doing a thing. We're resurrecting the Mission Advocate Program here in Maine. And no one really knows what you all do at ABHMS. And we want someone to tell everyone what you all do. What do you do, and why it's important to the 136 churches in Maine? And the caveat is that they said it had to be someone I knew. And so he decided me. He said I was the first person he thought of, not just because he calls me when he can't get his Zoom working. So at the end of the month, I'll be presenting the ministries of ABHMS to leaders who are committed to advocating for our work, to strengthen engagement, to encourage connection, and to support specifically the America for Christ offering. That opportunity didn't begin with strategy, it began with conversation. And that's what Ministry Mondays is. It's not just a podcast, it's a space where leaders clarify their purpose. It's where ministry beyond the pulpit is named and valued. It's also where isolation turns into connection, and that connection becomes a network. Through relationships, ABHMS shows up in regions, in churches, and in the lives of leaders who may not even realize they need us. Because some of them don't even know we exist. So let's fix that. That's the signature mark, our work. Leaders clarifying the purpose of their own organization as part of a network. And in these moments at tables, at airports, over phone calls, Christ is present. In the listening, in the encouraging, in the follow-up, and in that trust that grows over time, which is how all of our ministry works here at ABHMS. Not only in pulpits, but through the relationships that have become networks, and the networks that strengthen the leaders we have the privilege of supporting.
Here to tell you a story about how we convene leaders with respect and trust through when we do our Pomegranate Converge conference. As you know that every 2 years the Pomegranate is open, and this is one of those years where we select from about 100 grant applications, at least 30 who apply, get selected for the Palm Grant. And we convened them the following year here in this building. And so about 30 people from across the country, from Seattle and California all the way to Puerto Rico and Boston, Massachusetts, and from Middle America, they all convene. And they represent the dean of a seminary, like Berkeley Seminary, a local church in Middle Kansas, community outreach partner from Puerto Rico, or it could be local churches from Brooklyn to Atlanta to Wisconsin. So we bring a variety of people together, and people who work with immigrants, and people who work even in the border. So I want to tell you what one of these pastors shared with me while he was here during the 2.5 or 3 day conference. Pastor Guillermo Navarrete, he works with the Border Church. He's a pastor along the Tijuana, Mexico, or San Diego border. And he pastors, his church is a fluid church. He does not have a building, he does not have a church building, and his members change from week to week. This is a border where families come who have been separated between the US and the Mexico side, and during the weekends, they come to try and see each other through the fences, through the holes in the fences. And he's there to bring a word of hope on Sundays, every Sunday at around 2 p.m. And he says, because I don't have a church building, I don't really have other colleagues, like even in the city, in Tijuana, that I can meet with, because I don't have a regular church, he said. I really don't, I can't bring them to my church, I don't have a church office. And so he said, this gathering that we had last year meant a whole lot for him, meant a lot for him, because he was able to meet with other pastors from across the country and have fellowship with them, and learn from them and talk to them and feel like he's been heard and respected, and also make connections with other pastors. And because of that, I've been seeing him on our Justice Dialogs and monthly meetings, and also that you are not alone. So he's not an American Baptist, he's a Methodist, but the pastor on the US side was an American Baptist, and he was sent here on behalf of the organization, the Border Church, to our conference. So that's what we do at Converge. And we bring leaders from across the country who feel like they've been heard and respected while they are here. Thank you.
All right, everyone, God changed my story. I've always found it interesting that when you are the first person to take a seat at the table, all those who follow ask for permission to sit next to you. And if we're honest, we laugh at it and say, yeah, of course you can sit down. But what if it's teaching us something extremely important for us to recognize as it pertains to how we maneuver through our networks? Because I believe it teaches us that when you have a seat at the table, you give people permission and access to speak up, to make their voices heard, and you also influence how they move when they leave that table. as I think about Justice Dialogs, and I sit with the survey responses that we had, as I was reading through them, I heard that word permission, and again, it brought me back to the funny table analogy. Hear these words. Justice Dialogs gives permission to speak more forthrightly about this. And for context, we were talking about fascism in America. It is permission giving to have ABHMS programming say these things. Hear another voice. I think it helps me put words to some of the things I felt or tried to explain in the past. I often find myself trying to explain to others who see my actions as futile or not going to amount to any real big change. See the difference there? That person knows what it's like to seek permission to speak at certain tables and be told no. So when I think about the work of Justice Dialogs, I think of a table that has been prepared for those who have been admonished for leaning into their prophetic voice, being affirmed in their prophetic voice, strengthening their prophetic voice, and then commissioned to go and do likewise, no matter how many tables in which you are seeking permission to speak at and you've been told no.
Yes.
In the late 1990s and early 2000s, American Baptists, specifically in the Northwest, were embroiled in a divisive debate about LGBTQAI+ individuals and the autonomy of the local church. That's a whole other issue, right? From the tension that came an invitation for that group of churches associated with the region ABC of the Northwest to form a separate region, and that, my friends, is the birth story of the Evergreen Baptist Association. With that debate being far from settled, this new region took the opportunity to build something different. Over the years, those differences have attracted other churches to join for reasons far beyond the original conflict and beyond the Northwest itself. In October of 2022, Reverend Sam Kim and I found ourselves walking in between sessions at the Evergreen annual meeting. Catching up with one another post-pandemic, Sam himself hadn't been in his new role as the Executive Associate Minister of Innovation and Design for very long, nor had I been in the role as Director of Ministry Life for all that long. Both of us being total nerds when it comes to human-centered design thinking. We totally geek out about those things. Our conversations, of course, quickly turned into the challenges we were facing and how we would accomplish those difficulties through various means and ways with that, of course, design thinking lens. And then came the conversation about how we could collaborate. How could Ministry Life help solve some of the problems they were beginning to encounter? Now, if this was a fairy tale, we would have immediately been able to provide all of the things that they needed, and quite frankly, others needed as well. And Ministry Life would be there solving their problems right away, no problem. But let's be honest, in reality, neither one of us were ready. In fact, we wouldn't be ready until December of 2025. 3 years and 1 month after our brainstorming session in Denver, Sam and I sat in the Land Strategy Room mapping out how the Evergreen region region could onboard its entire ministry professional folk, their whole region. Not just the pastors, not just the chaplains, but everyone who was a ministry leader. And to do that, we would accomplish it with the goal of doing that in 2026, October. Now, lest you think that it was Evergreen that needed ministry life, Evergreen for us will be a pivotal guide as we design solutions that reach far beyond a single region. None of this, however, would have been possible if we didn't understand how vital it is as leaders to collaborate. See, ministry life is not just some social media platform. It is a lifeline for a pastor who feels isolated. It is a community of ministry professionals who call themselves colleagues and friends. It is a soft place to land and a safe space to speak out when it has been a week that has been too much. It is a place of connection where leaders can collaborate in ways we can't even yet imagine. We recognize the importance of collaboration. It is vital not only for one side or the other, one partner or the other. It is vital for all.
Good job.
I know we're at time, but do we have like 5 minutes maybe? Or? So what we wanted to do in as we were discussing in our last PMM meeting, we were able to identify some individuals, some organizations, congregations that we were connected with through our programs and able to actually see some connections just within our PMM network. So what I wanted to do really quickly is give you all a demonstration of this activity that we did during our PMM meeting, and also hopefully spark some ideas for each one of you all as you're going through your list, your mental Rolodex of the individuals, organizations, and congregations that you know, and how you might be connected to other people in the room and the work that you do. So can you help me? Untraditional way of doing this, but it's gonna work. So I'll have each one of my colleagues come up and just name the individuals and then place them on our board. And then we are going to draw the connections between each one of these individual organizations. So I'll put mine up first. Oh. Did you put yours up?
I didn't.
I had Gary Higgins. Like snatching them over with that. I have First Baptist Church of Peoria. See, you can already see the connections or hear the connections. And then I have Weirton Christian Center.
Yes.
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 Okay.
Now it's my turn.
Yes, please.
I have Reverend Dr. Victoria Carr-Ware. I have Baptist Church of Westchester. And then I have the Samuel DeWitt Proctor Conference.
Lisa?
Sure. Vernon Clement. First Baptist Church of Ottawa, Kansas. Iglesia Bautista de Puerto Rico.
I have the Reverend Dr. Eugene Downing and Stelton Baptist Church.
I have Reverend Travis Norval. First Baptist Church of Honolulu.
these are Dr. Pat's connections. Chaplain Colonel Ruth N. Seagrass, U.S. Air Force. American Baptist Churches of the South. And National Conference Military and Armed Forces.
I've got Reverend Dr. Zena Jacques, Evergreen Region, Cooperative Baptist Fellowship, and Baptist Women in Ministry.
And we're gonna draw our connections, everybody,
Yep.
at once.
At the same time.
Yes, we can do this.
Post opportunity. Post
We're gonna post that on Ministry Life.
Great photo.
I pledge myself to Christian.
The little pictures of them on that.
Picture on my house.
Oh,
So these are not just lines connecting Post-its, or I mean, they kind of are in some ways, but these are actual relationships and the connectivity, the connection between these relationships, I think is powerful. And I think each one of us in this room has at least a few people, at least a few congregations, at least a few organizations that they are connected with. And I would just encourage you to think about those people and places and to reach out amongst one another and see how those connections and network can be nurtured and evolve. So if there's any questions, concerns, discussion, y'all ready for the break? All right. Thank you.